Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 Shruti Sharma.
Hello and welcome to ForumIAS. So these are all the topics that we are going to see today. Their relevance for the prelims and mains examination, they are given here. You can go through it for your reference. Now we'll move to the first article of the day. It is from the editorial section. And why this article has come, it is because US India Civil Space Joint Working Group, that is CSJWG. This working group meeting was held on January 30th, 31st of this year. So basically India and US are coordinating under the Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technologies umbrella. So space technology is getting critical for our future, and also it is an emerging technology. Under this, India and US are cooperating. So what is the significance of this cooperation? If we see, currently the US is concentrating on the Artemis program. So this is the moon landing program of US. So once they have already landed in moon through the Apollo mission, now US has the aim of doing the moon landing, and they also have plans to stay in the moon for quite some time and carry out research also. So that is the significance of Artemis mission. And one more thing is, it will have women participation also in the initial Apollo mission. In this mission, there was first moon landing of US. In this mission only, Neil Armstrong and all, they went, Buzz Aldrin, they all went to moon in this mission. Okay, obviously there were no women in this mission. Now in Artemis mission, there would be women. This is also one of the significance. And under this Artemis program, there was this Orion spacecraft. So this spacecraft was recently tested by NASA. They sent this spacecraft to moon and then back to the earth as well. So this has been done by the US, and India is also planning for Gaganyaan mission, which is the human space flight program of India. So these are all in pipeline. So in this context, cooperation becomes very significant. What is the advantage for India when it wants to cooperate with US in space sector? Because this US is an advanced spacefaring nation. They have a long history. They have more experience also in this. So India has that advantage. And for US, what is the advantage is that it can collaborate India in a less controversial area. When it comes to military cooperation, there are chances of fallout with China, right? In geopolitics, there is this risk of fallout with China, Russia, etc. So, but in space cooperation, it is kind of risk-free. So, for US also, it is beneficial only, and at the end, we have a win-win situation for both the countries. These are all keywords which you can use in your mains answer sheet as well. Space cooperation is a win-win situation. Moving on to the next slide. But though it is a win-win situation, there are some issues. The first thing is the mismatch of interest, because see, India is focusing more on in and under earth orbits, like low earth orbits, which we discussed a day before yesterday also. But US's focus is to the moon, beyond the earth. They are going much far than the earth. But India's current priorities are focused on improving our satellite launch capabilities, and we want to catch up with China. We are not that developed like the US when it comes to space sector. So our aim as of now is to catch up with China. And moreover, if we see, ISRO has done just 10 launches per year in 2022. So this much is the capacity and this much is the interest. So first thing is there is a mismatch of interest. Second thing is asymmetry in capability. There is a mismatch in the capacity. They are not comparable. So first thing is US has the highest number of registered satellites in space. So and so the SpaceX company of Elon Musk, they alone have done 61 launches in last year, that is in 2022 they undertook 61 launches, but India currently has totally only 60 satellites. So see the difference here. So obviously there is a mismatch in capacity. Even the private sector which is involved in space technology, they are also much more advanced. In India, in space sector we allowed the entry of private in 2020 only, but if you see SpaceX, this much they have launched, and they are even planning to replace the International Space Station also. Currently we have International Space Station which is built with the cooperation of US, Russia, Japan, etc. So even SpaceX will replace this International Space Station with smaller station by 2030. So obviously there is a mismatch in capacity of private sector of space companies in US as well as India. And US already has many private partners. Amidst this, there is no big incentive for them to collaborate with India. So the incentive part is missing in this case. So what can be done in this context is, these are some innovative solutions that the author is providing. So in order, if we want to have long-term cooperation with US in space sector, then there should be engagement between academics, private sector as well as state-led entities. There should be a tripartite cooperation. One is academia, that is the university, then is private, then public. Of both the countries must cooperate. Then only long-term cooperation in space sector is possible. And another solution is something similar to the NISAR mission, that is NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar mission. Already this is going on. Something like this, highly specialized projects. From this, India will get a lot of learning and tech transfer from these kind of projects. Highly specific projects will help, and partnerships should be innovative, and for that they are giving an example. There should be a convention of American and Indian aerospace companies. So basically in the Artemis program there is a submission, that is the Commercial Lunar Payload Services program. So if Indian and American aerospace companies are collaborating for this Artemis mission, Indian private sector can provide the payload. So our payload will also be going along with this mission. So this is somewhat an innovative cooperation, and India could send astronauts to train in American private companies. An important fallout of this is we can reduce the Russia dependence. Now we are heavily dependent on Russia, but Russia is not in a position to support us because they are embroiled in their own problems. So if we are sending our astronauts to American private companies, we can significantly reduce the Russia dependence. And New Space India Limited, it can collaborate with private companies in the US. So this is also something of an innovative partnership. So in this context, we have to know what is NSIL, New Space India Limited. So basically, it will enable the Indian industries to take up high technology space related activities. But anthrax, this was also in news 2 years back about this anthrax Devas controversy. So because of this, anthrax was also in news. Actually, UPSC has this tendency to ask questions from 2 to 3 years. Maybe you can be asked difference between these two entities. Anthrax is more related to foreign customers. So if any South American country, say Brazil, wants to launch a satellite, then anthrax will enable that cooperation so that ISRO can launch the satellite of Brazil through its launch vehicle. That is the role of anthrax. And NSIL will enable the private sector to engage in high technology space related activities. And another one is a regulator. This is a company, but in space is a regulator. Okay, it's a regulator. NSIL is a company limited, New Space India Limited. So it is a company. InSpace will regulate the activity of the private sector in the space technology domain. So these are all the three institutions associated with space technology apart from ISRO. Antrix is for foreign, PSU NSIL is to enable, InSpace is to provide regulations. This kind of clarity must be there. So basically this article talked about US-India collaboration in space sector, what are the challenges and what can be done to improve the coordination. Moving on to the next article, it is about the micro LED displays. Why this is in use? Because Apple company is moving to this micro LED technology. So LED is light emitting diode. We all know light emitting diode. So basically micro LED is a self-illuminating diode and it has a better color reproduction than OLED. OLED we will see in the next slide. It is superior technology in terms of color reproduction than OLED technology. So micro LED, from the name itself we can know that there are small micro LEDs and they are integrated. So it produces a small, but though it is small in size, it produces strong light. So we already saw there are numerous micro LEDs, and because of these small micro LEDs, picture is generated in a screen. So how small is micro? To put it in context, if we are taking 1 centimeter of hair and if we are cutting it into 200 smaller pieces, that is the size of a single micro LED. So if there are many micro LEDs, together they are called as a module, and if there are several modules, it gives rise to a screen. So the hierarchy is a micro LED, several micro LEDs form a module and several modules form the screen. So this is about micro LED. What are the advantages? So basically the color reproduction is very good. Viewing angle, so regardless of the angle, the experience would be much better. It is much like image painted on top of glass. That much of clarity will be there. There is limitless scalability. Scalability means the ability of this technology to be adapted into any size. It can be a small smartwatch, it can be a big movie screen also. That is scalability. Okay, so the ability to increase in size, increase or decrease in size, that is scalability. So this micro LED has limitless scalability. That is because it is resolution free, bezel free, ratio free, and even size free. So regardless of the size of the screen, it will work. It will work in an effective manner regardless of resolution, whether it is 720 pixels or 360 pixels. It doesn't matter. Regardless of the resolution, this will be effective. Bezel free. Bezel is this outer border of a phone. So it is even bezel free. That means we can have a borderless cell phone, and it is ratio free. Ratio is the size of the screen, 16:9, 3:8. There are some ratios. Regardless of this ratio, it will work fine. And another important property is self-emissive. It can emit its own light. That is the meaning of self-emissive, and you don't need backlight. So in LCD technology, that is liquid crystal display. So in LCD technology, there will be a screen and behind this there will be a backlight, and that backlight will illuminate the screen. But in case of micro LED, there is no need for backlight and it will by itself produce the red, blue, green primary colors. That is also an advantage of micro LED, and it has much better luminance and there are no panel degradation issues also, which means the life is also more, lifespan is also very high for this micro LED. So the predecessor technology for micro LED is OLED, organic LED. So this OLED has an organic film, it is a thin film and it is placed between two conductors. So these two plates are conductors. Conductors are good conductors of electricity like metal, and in between them the thin strip of this thin organic film is placed, and when electrical current is applied, bright light is emitted by this thin film of organic material. That is the background about OLED. So this article mainly discusses about the micro LED display, what it means to Apple as a company. That is not very relevant for UPSC perspective. We just have to have a basic knowledge about this micro LED technology, and for MCQ purpose we must be able to compare it to the previous technology, that is the OLED technology. Both of these are covered. Now we'll move to the next article. So basically this article is about FATF evaluation. Now the FATF evaluation of India is nearing. So what is this FATF? FATF is the Financial Action Task Force. It was established approximately in 1989, but it gained more prominence after the 9/11 attack in the US. After the Twin Tower attack, this became very prominent because it is a money laundering and terror financing watchdog. So terror financing is carried out through money laundering. So we would have studied in internal capacity, right? So imagine this is India. So excuse me for my bad drawing skills. So imagine that this is India. So we have the golden crescent here, right? Golden crescent consists of Pakistan, Afghanistan and Iran. And we have golden triangle. This is the golden triangle. So it consists of countries like Myanmar, Vietnam, etc. So we have the golden crescent and golden triangle. Here there is cultivation of cannabis. Cannabis cultivation is huge. So just to give you an idea of how money laundering and terror financing are related. So what happens if there is Taliban? Taliban government grows the cannabis, which is illegal, and they gain some profit out of selling of cannabis, and this money it is sent through formal channels to buy weapons. So this is carried out through money laundering, and ultimately this money laundering is used to finance terror. So money laundering and terror financing are very much closely linked. This is just to give you an idea. So coming back, FATF is the Global Money Laundering and Terror Financing Watchdog, and they set the international standards which need to be followed. So this FATF has 39 member countries and India is also a member. India joined as the 34th member of FATF. So FATF, if a country is not following these standards set by FATF, they would be put in grey list. Even then, if they are not mending their ways, they would be moved to blacklist. These are informal nomenclature. But according to FATF, it is called as a jurisdiction under increased monitoring or a high risk jurisdiction. If they come under grey list or blacklist, they are called as high risk jurisdiction. So this is about FATF. Now, how does FATF evaluate compliance? So basically it has set standards. So to this, how to evaluate compliance? The first thing they will see is technical compliance. They will see whether there is a legal framework, whether there are laws which combat money laundering and terror financing, and institutional framework. There should be institutions, there should be agencies which will be able to implement these laws. Like for example, in India we have the enforcement directorate, ED. We have enforcement directorate, we have NIA, National Investigative Agency. So these are all the institutions which engage in combating money laundering and terror financing. So if FATF has to evaluate the effectiveness, first they will see the technical compliance, they will see whether the suitable laws are there, and they will see whether suitable institutions are there to give effect to these laws. So they will see that. Then second thing is effectiveness. So how effective are these institutions? How many arrests are being made? How many properties are being seized? How many convictions are being made? That will tell the effectiveness of our country's fight in terror financing and money laundering. So this is how FATF compliance is evaluated. So if they are coming to evaluate India, how is India faring? Where is India standing? So in terms of technical compliance, we have the legal framework. These are the laws. That is the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, Fugitive Economic Offenders Act, and we also have Black Money Act. So we have laws, we also have institutions like NIA, we have institutions like ED, etc. So then there are some problems in the previous evaluation by FATF. There was an issue that was flagged. That is, previously what the situation was that only if someone is convicted of money laundering, then only their assets can be seized. So this has some disadvantage, right? Before conviction, they will write off that property in some other person's name, or they can liquidate that property. So now what happens is, because FATF flagged this issue in their previous evaluation, Section 8 Clause 5 of PMLA, that is the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, has been amended. The current position is, once the investigation starts, the assets will be attached. Okay. And the case will go on. In case they are convicted, the assets will remain with the government. But if they are acquitted, if they are freed, then assets will be freed. Assets will be given back to the person who was acquitted. Okay. So earlier, only after conviction, assets could be attached. Now investigation will start, assets will be attached, then the case will run. If they are convicted, the asset remains with the government. If they are acquitted, the asset will go back to the person who was acquitted. So this legal change has been effected. Previously, money laundering was not a standalone offense. It was predicated on another offense. It is an auxiliary offense. It was not a standalone offense. Now, PMLA Act, there is a definition of offense, and it has been defined as an act or omission which is punishable by law. So in the previous assessment, these two issues were flagged, but these two issues were fixed by subsequent amendments in the law. So, and then we also have a grey list and blacklist, which we often hear in the context of Pakistan. It often comes into the grey list. So we already saw, right? High risk jurisdiction. If they fail to comply with the standards set by FATF, they will move to grey list. Even then, if they are not mending their ways, they will be moved to blacklist. the punishment they'll get if they are moved to blacklist, the quantum of punishment is higher than when they are in the grey list. So if we see in blacklist, these countries are there: Iran, Myanmar and North Korea. And in grey list, recently Pakistan was removed. These were the countries who were added, that is DR Congo, Tanzania, Mozambique, Gibraltar, etc. So these countries were added to the grey list. If a country comes into the grey list or blacklist, then what will be the effect? It will be difficult to get international loans. That will become very difficult. Then it will affect the trade, and assets also will be freezed. So it basically puts pressure on the economic system of the country. This is what is the implication if a country is moved to grey list or the blacklist. That is about this article. Now we will move to the next article of the day. It is about the ASI River. ASI River in Varanasi. So why this is in news is because they are saying that this river, ASI River in Varanasi, is dying a slow death. So in the name Varanasi, this part, it comes from the ASI River itself. So that is the significance of this river, but it is dying a slow death. This is a minor tributary of river Ganga, and it used to join Ganga near the ASI Ghat. So what is the problem? Why this river is dying? It is because of encroachment. It has lost its old path. So this might have been the path, and if encroachment are coming in, it would have lost the old path. And sewage also, if you see this river, you can clearly see how black it is. Sewage joins the river, industrial effluents join the river. Because of this ASI River is dying. And what is being done? See, it looks practically like an Allah, right? It looks like a sewage channel. But this is the ASI River. This is the current status of ASI River. So you can see the level of pollution in this river. So in 1866, the river was 50 meters at its widest point. At its widest point, it was earlier 50 meter. Now it is barely 30 meter at its widest point. So which shows that the river is shrinking because of encroachments. And in the Uttar Pradesh Global Investor Summit, there was a 1,000 crore deal between UP and Denmark, but this has not fructified. So urgent action is required in this regard. Moving on to the final article of the day. So through the Aksai Chin region, China is planning to construct a railway line which connects Tibet and Xinjiang. So Tibet is the autonomous region in China. So this railway line is mainly to improve the connectivity between Xinjiang and Tibet, but this railway line passes through Aksai Chin, which legitimately belongs to India. So basically, this long-term railway line, it has been in the pipeline for a long term, and it has a long gestation period. So the aim of China is to cover almost 4,000 kilometers by 2025, and it will begin in Shigatse of Tibet, and it will end in Hotan in Xinjiang. So the problem is it passes through the Pangong Lake. Currently it is under the Chinese occupation. It will run along Rutok, which is an area in the Aksai Chin region which belongs to India. So if we see the map, here we can see Aksai Chin region. This legitimately belongs to India. Here you can see Xinjiang. Here you see the Tibet Autonomous Region. If there is a railway line connecting these two, it passes through the Aksai Chin region. Then it is a question on sovereignty of India, right? So that is why it is a concern. What is the significance of it? So why China is doing it is to promote socio-economic development. So socio-economic development in Tibet region and Xinjiang. These two regions of China are kind of tricky regions for their national security itself. So they are aiming to bring out socio-economic development so that the national security threats are neutralized. That is why China is doing this, and ultimately it will promote economic development in the Tibet region, and Tibet will get better integrated with the hinterland also, and in multiple domains there will be better integration of Tibet. And in wartime, this railway line, it will help in faster mobilization of troops also, and by that the battle readiness of Chinese military will also be enhanced. So this is from China's point of view. What is more relevant for us is from India's point of view. So in 1962, we know the 1962 India-China war. So it was mainly triggered due to a roadway construction in the Aksai region. So if the border development take place in the Chinese side, so they will further encroach, and the LAC will move. See, we know about LOC. It is between India and Pakistan, line of control. Sorry, I'll write it here, line of control, which is LOC, which is between India and Pak. LAC is line of actual control. This is between India and China. Okay. So what happens is, this LOC, we have agreement with Pakistan. So LOC is kind of demarcated. It is defined. But LAC is not demarcated. We haven't reached any consensus with China. So LOC is defined on paper, but LAC is not defined. So the position of, this is the LAC. I'll use some other color. So this line here, we have the LAC. Okay, this is the LAC. So this LAC, it is determined by the ground position of troops. So LOC is demarcated, it is there on paper, but LAC, this LAC, it is determined by the ground position of troops. How far our troops are able to hold, that determines the LAC. So what happens is, if there is any development in this area, it will enable encroachment and LAC can move further into the territory of India. I'll clear the screen. So what happens is, if there are any developments in this area, it will enable movement of ground position, and LAC can further infiltrate into the Indian territory. LAC can further increase. Okay, so that is the consequence of these kind of developments in Chinese side. I hope you can understand all the nitty-gritties of this issue. So here you see the Shigatse. So the railway line, it starts from this region. Here we have the Xinjiang. Here we have India. So this line passes in this direction. That's it for articles. Now we will see questions. So this particular question was asked in 2021 prelims. So it's important. So we'll discuss it. We discuss something related to micro LED. In that aspect, this question had come. With reference to street lighting, how do sodium lamps differ from LED lamps? 1. Sodium lamps produce light in 360 degrees, but it is not so in the case of LED lamps. 2. As street lights, sodium lamps have longer lifespan than LED lamps. 3. The spectrum of visible light from sodium lamp is almost monochromatic, while LED lamps offer significant color advantages in street lighting. And they are asking for the correct answer. Coming to these statements, statement 1 is correct. Yes. So the sodium lamps are the yellow lights which were present earlier, right? So they have 360 degree coverage, but for LED it is not so. Yes. For LED it covers only 180 degree. So this statement is correct. Second statement, as street light, sodium lamps have longer lifespan. No, LED lamps, so if we take sodium lamps, they have a lifespan of almost 24,000 hours. Okay, and LED lamps, they have lifespan from 25,000 to almost 2 lakh hours. So, which has longer lifespan? LED. But this statement says that sodium lamps have longer life. So, this statement is wrong. Third one is the spectrum of visible light from sodium lamp is almost monochromatic, while LED lamps offer significant colors. Yes, this is also true. This is yellow light, just yellow light, but in LED we have different colors like white, there can be blue, red, any color. We can use all the spectrum in LED. So this is asking for correct answer. 2 is wrong, 1 and 3 are correct. So correct answer is C, 1 and 3. Next question. With reference to FATF grey list, consider the following statements. These are countries that have in the assessment of FATF failed to prevent international money laundering and terror financing. At present, Pakistan has remained in the FATF grey list for the 5th consecutive year. They are asking for correct statement. So, yes, the first statement is correct. We already discussed, right? They have failed to prevent money laundering and terror financing. But Pakistan has not remained in the grey list for 5th consecutive year. This is wrong. Pakistan sometimes it remains in grey list, sometimes it is removed from grey list. So like that it goes on. It hasn't consistently remained for 5th consecutive year. So this statement is wrong. So the correct answer is A1 only. That's it for today's discussion. Follow us on all these social media platforms. Thank you. This is Indumati signing off. Have a good day.